Well, just gonna go up then. Okay, before I start answering any questions, can you tell me, is the sound good? Can anyone just confirm that you can hear me? I would be very grateful. Ah, perfect. I think there was a delay of 10 seconds, something like that. Should reduce, I don't know. And if you can hear some birds in the distance, well, yeah, there are birds in the distance, basically. Okay, go ahead. Shoot any questions you want. You have 40 minutes for Q&A, and then we're going to get into code. Then I won't be taking any more questions. Then I'll take you one step at a time through the code, and we will see how we can do RAM reads, which is RAM reads are the basics of any bot out there, and they're also the basics of any sort of a hack out there to extract information from the computer. When am I launching launching this next version of the C++ keylogger? I don't know. I wasn't really planning on continuing it in C++. I was really planning on doing something with the phone and mobile since I updated the keylogger twice. By this point in time, I figured the next iteration would be something to do with the phones, as that seems to be a bit more interesting. Because the keylogger that's out there now, there really isn't much else that you can add to the keylogger. I mean, you can make it into something else, yes, but for the time being, it fulfills the purpose. I think it got a signature, so anybody looking at the keylogger code will need to do some modifications in order for you to make it work. After I was thinking doing the okay, I'm currently doing web developing React Node.js. How the extract data can help in the future, like this type of project purposes. After I was I mean, whatever it is that you want to do with a PC, any sort of a hack, any sort of privilege escalation, any sort of a game hack, especially game hacks, they function on the basis of RAM reads and writes. How does extract? Okay, after thinking of doing a hacking course, what do you think about it? I don't know, Cybersound. Give it a try. It costs you nothing to try it. So if you like it, continue. If not, you can always get a refund. So no big deal. Those JavaScript lessons and Angular lessons on YouTube same as the ones on Udemy course? They should be. They should be. Hey, Antonio. Hey. Oh, Antonio, I do owe you an apology. I did not post the code on GitHub. I didn't post it because so many people contacted me and stated, hey, let's do the RAM reads. Why do we have to do this recognition thing? And then I was like, yeah, sure, let's just, I'll please the crowd, no problems. And then we're going to do RAM reads. Parrot Security OS, in my opinion, pointless. You can have any Linux really. It's not going to be any less secure or any. It's not going to have any greater degree of security. On Python hacking. Well, what does it matter which programming language you use? Can use any programming language really and just port the code over. I just like Java more. I also use Java on a daily basis for pretty much everything. Oh, God damn it. I really don't like summer. Like the allergies and the heat, it's terrible. Are there? Oh, I can only see one by name. Or I'm guessing, I don't know. Sorry if I offended anyone. Well, that was our language, by the way. Like, thank you. Yeah, sure. You can for the initial 40 minutes. You can ask any question you want. There you go. So first 40 minutes Q&A. Ask anything you want. That is the purpose of the live session. The primary purpose for me to offer a time when you can actually ask any questions that you want, and for us to do something fun. Okay. Yes, Antonio, feel free to ask. Simple art. Also, and even we do again. Okay. Hi from India. No theoretical hacking course. Hello to you, Neely. Think a hacking course on Udemy. Well, you can give it a shot. It's free to try. Okay, are you going to continue Angular YouTube? I don't know. I really don't know. There's a limit to how much of the Angular course I can actually upload onto YouTube due to licensing issues. Because if you post your course on Udemy, you can't post the entire course elsewhere for free. Because then that causes a conflict of interest with them, or the terms of service or something like that. I have no idea. For the hack course, the SSL strip part of the previous. No, not really, Antonio. SSL strip is not gonna work. It's not gonna work on most of the sites that people would want to play around with. Like it's not gonna work on any of the largest social media websites. SSL strip anyway. They use the HSTS enforcement. And if somebody has visited the social media website even once before you enable SSL strip, you will not get anywhere with it. I would advise. I would take a different approach there with the social media websites. I would go for bit squatting. On Udemy, yes, I do believe that you get a certificate for any course you attend there. Could you do tutorials on how to write a Java rat? So what would be the purpose of this rat? I don't know, Neely. I really don't. Anything you want to use. It depends on the purpose. Depends on what you want to do in specific. Like, if you want to write a keylogger, you're not going to write a keylogger in Java, and you're definitely not going to write a keylogger in Python. That would be outright stupid, because you would have too many dependencies in the background. But if you were, for example, to write a bot or something like that, it would be easier to write it in Java or Python as opposed to just writing it in C++. You will, of course, need to use the RAM read methods from the C++, but that's about it. So, Pennybeats, what would be the point of writing? Why would it? What is the objective with this rat? What is it supposed to do? So, what did you intend? There are different languages are used for different things. If we need to rapidly deploy it, you're not going to write it in Java. I can tell you that much. Okay. I'm gonna put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's go one by one. So, EC Council, is it good certification? It's a well-known certification. Whether it's actually any good, that's a bit questionable. In my mind, I guess, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't necessarily need to be. Okay, my VirtualBox pack not running on in Windows 10. Just re-download the latest one. And make sure that you're using make sure to know whether you're using a 32-bit or a 64-bit machine and whether or not the virtualization is enabled in BIOS. How to make viruses? Well, again, the same question as before. What is the purpose of this virus? What is it supposed to do? And then I can tell you what I can teach you and what I am able to do and what I'm not able to do. The reason I suggest Java is because I know it runs on OS X. Java runs on anything, quite literally. It runs on a SIM card, but you need the prerequisite, which is a Java virtual machine. And if you need to deploy something rapidly, you're not going to be carrying that thing around with you. Without the JVM in the background, any code written in Java will be completely useless. How is Java fine for personal use, but not for deployment? Like, Java is probably the most used programming language out there in the world. Second only probably to C++. And I will... I'm taking a first step cybersecurity. Which scripting language should I begin from? I really don't know. I mean, try 2-3 different things and see what suits you. It's like you can do pretty much anything in any programming language out there. So it's more of a matter of a personal preference than it is of an actual language. So what error do you get when you start the VirtualBox guest editions? As long as you have Eclipse that can compile a basic Java program, you're good to go. And the tutorial is on Linux. The fastest way is through the stream. That's why I hold it once a week and I allot time for all people to ask as many questions as you like. Because I used to answer questions on Udemy and through my mail and all that, but like more than 100 inquiries per day was way too much, way more than I could handle. So there was no way I could cover more than 100 inquiries every day. So I figured I would just hold live sessions and reply to whatever questions people would have. Okay, so magic trick, what error do you get? How does it not work? What error? Where's the error? What's the problem? It has to say something. Still an SSL strip. Is it normal that nothing gets written on the log file? Yes, why not? If it catches nothing, it's going to write nothing. So, Antonio, like as I said, SSL strip is not going to work on any of the social media websites. It is highly unlikely that it's going to work. Or any of the well-known mail providers. So pretty much anything that uses the HSTS protocol, SSL strip, won't be that useful. The virus can record all the activities of the target's computer. Can you make such kind of virus? Yes, I can make it. And most target device can't browse. The fact that they cannot browse means that you're misconfiguring something. The fact that nothing gets written just means that nothing was caught. Java is fine for consumer programs, but not for keyloggers and similar purpose programs. I'm sorry, I get a little bit touchy in regard to Java. Yes, definitely, Java would not be a suitable thing for a keylogger. I mean, definitely, it'd be actually pretty stupid to write a keylogger in Java, unless it was for an Android phone. In that case, it would actually be a very good idea. But like for a desktop, for a PC or something like that, that would be pretty stupid. Are you a tits or an ass man? I am an ass man. That's kind of virus target. That kind of virus targets a Linux system. Pretty much the same kind that targets a Windows system. Just written for Linux, really. Which language is better for general use? Java or C++? Again, a pretty broad question. A very, very broad question. I mean, general use. What is general use? Just tell me what you want to make, and then I will immediately be able to tell you, like, okay, that programming language is for that. Own antivirus with language. Antivirus? Well, you definitely need something that can inspect RAM. So you just need a few methods from C++, and as long as those methods are pluggable, then with the programming language that you are using, then you can use any programming language. So long as you can pull methods from C++, then you can use any programming language, or you can just use C++. Okay, is Linux necessary for ethical hacking? Well, it certainly is a lot easier. I mean, a lot of the tools and a lot of the stuff you won't actually find on Windows, but I personally don't really care that much about the tools because most of the tools that I use for my purposes, I usually make them myself. Show me a screenshot magic trick. Let me see. If it's on a non-SSL site, nothing's gonna happen or you won't have access. What are the CTFs? I don't know. It's a very, can be, I think it has a lot of references. Capture the flags? Is that what you're referring to, or are you referring to something else? Hello, Radicel. Any site where we can practice hacking? Yes, you can bring up your own web server, create a website there, and do whatever it is that you want. I want to be a JS developer. How do I go about it? Well, I would start with some YouTube videos, honestly. Like watch around 300 YouTube videos to master all the basics, and then you will get a pretty good idea where to go from there. How am I doing? Terrible. I think it was plus 36 the other day, and I'm the sort of guy that's perfectly fine with minus 20 degrees Celsius, and it was plus 40 degrees Celsius the other day. So almost plus 40, and terrible, so terrible. Can't wait for the summer to pass. Linux helps a lot, simply because that's where it's easier by default. It's also basic tools for analysis. Let's research at least, yes. Are pirated softwares harmful? Well, they're definitely harmful to the author of the software that's actually trying to sell the software, and then you download it for free. But other than that, there is an inherent danger in downloading from torrents. Like, to download a movie from a torrent and to play it on your own machine is, in my opinion, just no. Do not do it, because you don't know what somebody's packing on the other end. Okay, but let's say that the movie is not that dangerous because it's an MP4 file. But what if you download like a copy of Windows off of torrents and then you basically install it? That's like the ultimate stupid thing that you can do, because you have no clue like what somebody has actually placed into that executable. How did they repackage it or something like that? like what it is that you're installing, or any other software that you like download from the torrents. It's pretty much the same story. You have no way of knowing what somebody else packaged with it. Especially because you download the software, and then you have to download the crack as well. And then you launch the crack, you have no idea what's in it. It's an executable. So latest WannaCry worm had some code errors. Allow the target user, if there are IT guys, to decrypt the data. I think can we run through that at some point? No, I didn't really look at that, but you know, if you just have a bit of sane attitude towards what you're downloading from the internet and what you're actually running, and what sort of devices you allow to be plugged into your PC, it is highly unlikely that you will have any sort of a virus or anything like that on your computer ever to begin with. I hate the heat too. I sympathize. Thank you. Thank you. You don't need to join the course to chat. You can chat here. I mean, don't pay for the course just to be able to chat. You can chat here for free. On torrent, I can take any file. God, whatever. I want to put it up for download. Yes, exactly. You can do whatever you want with it, basically, and somebody else is doing whatever they want with it in a technical sense, and you have no idea what's happening, and you basically run their software. Crack could be anything. Anything. What somebody packages into it, you have no way of knowing. I mean, you could reverse engineer the code, but yeah, that would like consume a shitload of your time. That's a good hacking lab. No talking about it. IPC got damaged by using hiding crack. Are you ever going to make a course tutorial on Unreal Engine 4? Maybe. I don't know. Not an expert there. I would have to consult some people in order to be able to make it. Do you feel knowing that your lessons are easily available in torrents and easily found? No, I don't feel bad. Like, at all. Already cracked and activated. It'll be fine. You could open the crack, sandbox junk VM, and observe any behavior. Yes, you could, but things could be like on a timer, you know? Nothing can happen for like a year, then after a year, things start happening. What the fuck is it? Running Windows 7 for 10 years, no issues. Where am I from? Bosnia. Can we make such viruses which get such battery right as soon as we plug the pen drive? Yes, I made that. It's like in the course. Literally. Like you just plug it in. And slow and insecure Windows 10 legit work out. No. The plugin that I made basically works through pretty much any antivirus software, and it works through pretty much any Windows protection as well. Strangely, the average person downloading from the torrent doesn't have the time to analyze the hex dump disassembly of every program they downloaded. Yeah. Cheat engine is rather good, but there's no reason why you can't read RAM on your own. You know, you don't really need a whole program for that. It's literally just like one method, or maybe two, depends. No, you didn't mean autorun. Are there any best practices for backing up Fedora 7? Those offers system image, file directory, file history. Well, you can just create a cron job, and it basically compresses your entire file system. You can compress your entire file system and then send it somewhere, and it can repeat that procedure on a weekly basis. So it deletes the old it creates the new copy, copies it onto the server, deletes the old copy, and there you go. That's one of the best ways to back it up, just creating those tarballs and verifying the hashes between them. Oh wow, okay. R zone, nice. Upload the cracked viruses. Total alive. Plus post malware looks for dormant. Well, if you're using KVM, it's very unlikely that the malware will actually be able to figure out that it's a VM. No way we can destroy viruses without antiviruses. Well, you basically just go and delete them like you would delete any other file. Anything, any executable can be killed basically. So no big deal. Where is that, Ermin? Which course? What are you referring to, Victor? The stick that you plug in and then it launches things? I think it's in the ethical hacking, the newer one. There you go, then it auto-runs. No, auto-run doesn't work on Windows 10. I mean, not by default anyway. So, have you ever made a game with C++? Aside from like the... You know how you... What is the name of that game? Like you have two moving pipes and the ball bounces between. That's about it as far as my games in C++ are concerned. I don't really have a lot of experience with quadcopters, no. But I think you have fresh products for that, like in terms of code. Virus quarantines all my harmless assembly programs. Yeah, antiviruses don't really capture a lot of things. They just capture the things that they have the signatures for, more or less. I don't know, I really wouldn't recommend any in specific. You can make your own pretty much from any router. At least code while you're talking. The latest code, you bypass antivirus. Yes, it will bypass antivirus, auto-run, pretty much anything on Windows it will bypass, aside from a complete keyboard block. Unless you have that enabled, but then you cannot use the operating system to begin with. It's gonna work. The latest code you were talking about bypasses the entire... Okay, yeah, Pong. Yes, the Pong game. God, the Pong game. How could I forget about the damn Pong game? I don't know. Looks like soccer, right? No, it's a Pong game. You can use it, but I personally just use the XFS. What can you do with a Raspberry Pi? Anything you can do with a PC, pretty much. You play Diablo 3? No, I don't. I'm sorry. My ethics professor did say that piracy is better than obscurity, so he'd rather... Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just feel very sorry for people who like generally download from torrents, not my material, but material in general, especially executables, and then they run them on their PCs, and they have no idea what's the background of what sort of code is running in the background. Use of data extraction, and Java is the only language that can do it. No, it's not the only language that can do it. Actually, C and C++ are the two languages aside from assembly that can do it, but I just tend to use Java. We're going to be calling C++ from Java anyway. Is that as good for gaming? Yeah, I would say so. Not as good because you don't have a lot of games that are ported to it, but Steam has made remarkable progress. Are any exploiting computer systems that cannot be hacked at all, as in no possible way? Well, you basically just unplug your computer from the network, fry the wireless card, and there you go. Bulletproof system. Nobody's accessing it besides you. Where to start the code for a beginner? I mean, oh, wait, actually, no, that wouldn't be 100% either. Because there were new methods with the... Like, they're not exactly new. It's a pretty old concept. Like, when you irradiate a keyboard wire from a distance, and then you have something to measure the oscillation in the radiation spikes, and you get the keystrokes. I know it sounds like science fiction, but it's not. It's the actual reality of things. Or they can also, like, there was a method, I can't remember who made it, but it's a real thing. Like, they can listen to the oscillation of your processor, of your CPU, with a microphone, with a parabolic microphone, and extract the encryption keys from it. The equipment doesn't cost a lot. You just need a good microphone. That's it. Start code. I don't understand the question, because you need R-Zone. You need to, like, specify a purpose for yourself and say, okay, I want to do that. And when you know what you want to do, then it's pretty easy to make a choice in terms of programming languages. Then I can help you. So what can you do with a Raspberry Pi in the field of hacking a Wi-Fi jammer? You can do everything that you can do with a regular PC. It's just smaller. People generally use them to, like, put them up in the buildings and have persistent access to the building's network. I do not have a Facebook, so you can post a screenshot here if you wish, but I don't really have a Facebook. Have you ever tried to hack Bill Gates' bank account? No, not really. Do you invest in cryptocurrencies? Or a more accurate statement would be that I play around with cryptocurrencies. Disconnect computer from the internet and plug the power cord. Disconnect all the peripherals. Dig a hole. Place a computer in a hole. Fill it with concrete. Place a sign saying radiation extent. Computer safe. Well, theoretically, you could still somehow read the disk contents. Theoretically. I don't know, Gabriel. I really don't know. I would prefer if nobody calls me sir, really. You can use the $50, $20 Celeron CPU from 8 years ago, and you can code with it, no problems. Unless you're trying to create a game or a, like, GPU, or like but even then it's perfectly fine, because you're going to be using your GPU most of the time. So do not invest a lot of money for a coding machine. Like, you need the bare minimum, really. Unless you need virtualization and stuff like that, then you need to go up a notch. Okay, so like 15 more minutes, and then we're gonna 17 more minutes, and then we're gonna switch to code. If what I want to do in the future is video game development, then I should go for C++, right? Yes, you are not mistaken about that. C++ is definitely for games. Car or donuts? A car. I would go for a car. Is VPA Enterprise plus Radius hackable? I mean, is it possible to get the user's password? Anything's possible, but it just depends on the approach that you want to take. I mean, if you want to decrypt, then I know of no known way of doing it, but there are other more complex methods which can be employed. White proxy chains, does it frequently not connect to the internet for you? Well, if I create my own proxies, or if I pay for proxies, it connects 100% of the time, no problems. But if you use the free ones, I mean, obviously they're going to go down very often, and they're going to come up and down. I generally don't really use Kali to begin with. Also, on the side note, can you replicate the phone Flutter program that is used against the IRS scammers? Like, I do not, serious, like, how people, I cannot believe that people, like, fall for that trick. Like, IRS scammers, like, I have never known anybody who needed to pay their taxes within a day. It's usually, if they give you a call, you have, like, several months to make any payments. So plenty of time to check. A poison tap from a Raspberry Pi. Well, you just need some cabling, really, and depends on the environment you want to put it in. It shouldn't be too difficult. And you need a Wi-Fi, and you need the power. You need to ensure that steady flow of power to it, stuff like that. I don't think that like a programming language is a must-have in a antivirus companies. I don't think it matters that much which one you know. I mean, definitely C++ would be beneficial for you there, but I think they're more interested in some of the advanced concepts of programming languages that you are able to perform, such as basically analysis of raw RAM material. Where should I start? That's a good one. With YouTube, I would say. YouTube's your friend. It's probably the largest educational platform out there in the world. Is there any way to hack into mobile internet service providers and use internet for free? Well, you don't need to really hack into them. People tended to clone other people's SIM cards and had internet for free. How old was I? I really don't know. I have no idea, Ritz. I don't know. I have terrible memory to begin with, so... Neil, I just explained it to you. You need to know where are you going to place it. Like, what is the environment you're going to put this Raspberry Pi into? What is the power supply to it? How will you deliver power to it? Do you have a wireless plugin for Raspberry Pi? How will you communicate to it? Will it connect to the network directly, or will it be excluded from the network, but it will only serve as a tap? A lot of things to consider there. My computer is not letting me download the Linux link you provided. What could be causing the problem? Open your favorite search engine, type in Kali Linux, and should open up the first link that comes around. I think that will be fine. Best way to learn C or C++? Code. Just code. Every single day, just code. C is definitely not obsolete. C++ is also not obsolete. C and C++ are basically the most used programming language of today. Like, you are using it right now. I am using right now software written in C++. You, at the moment, all of you, without exception, are using software written in C++. So it's C and C++, so it's definitely very far from being obsolete. Any free VPN you could recommend? Well, you can really create your own VPN for $5. Like, just rent a server somewhere and create a VPN for yourself there, or just you can use OpenVPN, something like that. That's free. Oh God. For today's session, I'm gonna be using Eclipse with Java, and we're gonna code. We're gonna code Java, and then we're gonna code in C++ as well. But C++ code will be very different on Linux than it will be on Windows. So you do need some sort of a Linux running. Okay. 11 more minutes actually. For this, I wouldn't say so. In fact, I think better. Every driver you can ever think of was probably written in C plus assembly. No, I do not play Super Smash Bros. Melee. I have a feeling some people here have like that psychiatrist evaluation test, something like that, and then they're just picking the questions from it and filling out the answers that I give or something. Disclaimer, I get touchy about C. It's a beautiful language. It is a beautiful language. As I said, pretty much any driver you can think of was written in C plus assembly. A definitive cloak for shielding my IP address and location. Well, what people tended to do was they used several jumps in countries which were in very bad relations with the countries that they were in. So that's how they shaded themselves. Antonio, I don't get the question. You just need Eclipse that can compile Hello World in Java, and that's it. And it needs to be running on Linux, and that's it. That's it, Antonio. Like, as far as C++ is concerned, you're gonna need the GCC compiler, but if that's not installed on Linux, that's like 30-second install. Just type in DNF, install GCC and G++. Here, sure, I'll list the prerequisites. There you go. You literally need those three things. Yes, it is, but you're not. What I'm doing, you're not going to be able to do on Windows. I mean, you're not going to be able to use this code and apply it on Windows. You will be able to modify the code, but to use the same code, it won't work on Windows. Because I will be using Java native interface and making native calls, which are OS dependent, really. I plan on taking your course at Udemy, which is better using a Linux system or a virtual machine. Well, a full-fledged system will always give you better performance, and generally it will be better in every possible sense. Okay, so 8 more minutes for this round of questions. I've already broken my timer. So when the 8 minutes expires, we're going to go ahead and jump into code. You'll see it'll be fun. This time I'll explain every single line of the code, or at least I will try to do so. On a scale of 1 to 10, how easy is it for somebody to hack Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook account? Well, depends on who you are. If you hang out with him every day, you can probably just steal his phone and take whatever you want from there. Here, I'm kidding. Hello, this program Dallas says it cannot run on my system. What do you mean the Linux program cannot run on your system? It's an operating system, so you can either install it, or as a full-fledged system, or you can install it in a virtual box. Magic trick? I have no idea, honestly. When it comes to these things, I'm a complete idiot. I'm not sure what mems are. I have no idea what Gunnar glasses are. You cannot run it on a PC. It needs to be installed as an operating system is installed, like Windows is installed. No, Antonio, I'm sorry. No open CV lib will be required today. As I said, a lot of people just stated that they wanted me to show them how to read from RAM, and there was very little interest to actually interpreting the image as is. Rather, instead, everybody wanted to just read information from RAM. But I'm pretty sure that we'll incorporate it at some point in time. That's why I switched, and that's why I skipped it last time. What is the problem with VirtualBox magic tricks? Guest editions won't run for him. There's a guy that actually hacked into his account recently. But Facebook wasn't impressed and refused to employ him. Probably because his account is like any other account, really. No, you're not late. Kumar, I'm just answering questions for another 5 minutes and then we're jumping into code. You didn't skip any code. How to brute force attack a for CAPTCHA-enabled website. You use machine learning. And you basically just use the tip of my tongue. You basically teach the machine to recognize certain images as to interpret them in a certain way. I do not know how you can send a screenshot during the live stream. I really have no idea. That's my email. Had a problem with my HDD. It was broken. I replaced it and it seems they locked my BIOS in their setting thoughts. How could I unlock? Well, you really just pull out the battery from the laptop, wait for like 30 minutes, the battery out of your PC. There is a very small battery on the motherboard. If you take it out and if you wait for, let's say, 30 minutes or something like that, 30 minutes is an overkill. The BIOS will reset to original settings. You won't have a password on it. Connor Pop. I do not know. Course in Bash is great. Thank you. Your course in C++ cover to know in order to start coding. Yes. So starting with C++ course. Good luck. Thanks a lot for all. Sure, that's much appreciated. Just to know. Continue the GameBot session. People ask for it. Yes, the GameBot continues onwards, except we're gonna switch over to RAM reads as opposed to just reading the image from the screen. But we'll probably incorporate a little bit of the reading of the image from the screen at some point in time, maybe. But people there were way too many requests for RAM reads, and I just figured I would go with the flow. Okay, 2 more minutes. Just install the guest. Exclusive VirtualBox, your guest OS. Hello, you seem to have sniffles. I sincerely hope that I do not. But wouldn't be the first time, really. No, I cannot give you my telephone number. I mean, you can send me an email if you really need to contact me in private. But for any troubleshooting issues, you can use the live sessions. An air-gapped system. What is an air? What do you mean by an air-gapped system? Make any new damage? Would it make system Brakkosk, are you referring to a previous question, or because I have a lot of questions here? I do not understand what is the reference to. Would it make any damages on the system or hardware? Was that a BIOS question? If it was a BIOS question from before, then no, it shouldn't really cause any harm. I've done it plenty of times. It didn't really cause me any harm. What are some of the good Linux sysadmins you recommend? I do not understand the question. Sysadmin books. Okay. Just use the Red Hat documentation. It's pretty good. Sure, Antonio. I'll wait, but please make it as short as possible, and then we can proceed with the code. And do notify me of that. Buffer overflows. Well, basically, the RAM reads is fairly similar to a buffer overflow. Yes, Linux will probably work on a PC that was used on a chip that was used to send a man to the moon. So, yeah, no problems with that. Once a week, mostly once a week. It's been an hour. Yes, I know, but people are asking me to wait a little bit longer for their setup to actually go on. So I have to. I'll just oblige them. I'm sorry, Jamie. It's just that some people have asked me to wait a bit so that they can do the setup, and I'm gonna oblige them. Closed network is not connected to the internet. Well, okay, right. So you have side channel attacks. Just use your favorite search engine and type in side channel attacks, and they don't have a prerequisite of being connected to the internet. I want to tell you some things about the course of hacking course because my English is so bad. No, that is not my email address. This is my email address. As I saw, I was asking about BIOS killing for the password recover and Lenovo. You're not killing your BIOS. Like, all that you're doing is removing power from it. Once the power is removed, it will simply restart to the factory settings, and that's it. I don't know, really. I don't know. There are a lot of internets out there, as you might refer to them, that you can't reach, but like a company might have an internet of its own, and a country might have an internet of its own, etc. So no big deal. Okay, so I'm sorry, I cannot read the name. There you go. So my email address is right there. I believe that you can access it on YouTube as well. You can see it pretty much anywhere. I have installed 4 GB of RAM. CC says 3. There is no known solution to that. You do not have a problem. That is the way it's supposed to be. It doesn't matter if you have like 8 GB plates. You will never be able to use 8 GB because a certain amount is used to map the rest of the RAM. Part of RAM is reserved for system stuff. Yes, basically. When UEFI reset happened, the TPM keys, so it could be impossible to access the key. When you reset the BIOS, that's it. It goes back to the factory settings, UEFI or not. Antonio, may I ask, did you set things up? Can I start or? Yes, basically it's CMOS. I know, but the way I'm referring to it is a bit stupid. You're absolutely right, Jimmy. Come. Okay, Antonio, I'm gonna like 5 more minutes for that, and then I really have to begin because it's been more than an hour. Okay, perfect. Perfect. So we're just gonna wait for you to have it ready and then we're gonna go into it. So guys, when I start with the code, I'll explain a lot of stuff. And I personally wouldn't recommend that you if you can't keep up, it doesn't matter. Trust me, it doesn't matter. All that you need to do is sit back, relax, listen, and try to understand as much as you can because, hey, you can always rewind the video. It's not going anywhere. I mean, it's still going to be there no matter what. So, hey, nothing to worry about. Just try to understand as much as you can because this is one of the fundamental principles, something that you will, if you're creating a game bot, if you're trying to reverse engineer something, if you're conducting such activities, this knowledge you will require, like no matter what. Doesn't matter if you use Java, C++, Python, whatever other programming language, it is irrelevant. This sort of knowledge you will require. Sorry, the C++ score. Should I try to watch this one? There isn't going to be much of C++ here. We're only using one method actually, RAM read, because we're going to be reading from the RAM, and that's going to be called by Java. Thank you, Kumar. Thank you. So most of the code will be in Java. And as I said, please don't be disencouraged or anything like that. Just go and try to understand as much as you can. I have misplaced my water. Installed. So already, Antonio? Perfect. Okay, so let's go and begin. We won't begin with the Eclipse itself. I'm just going to go ahead and close this one. I got banned twice using aimbot hacks and critical ops, but still. Yes, you need to be really smart about the way you use it, and then you will be fine. But if you use the generic one, then it's a problem. How long will this be? I have no idea. My girlfriend asked me the same question, and I told her that I have no idea. So, I don't know. I'll cast for as long as I can, and for as long as you're willing to listen, I guess. Okay, so let me go ahead and expand the terminal here. I'm going to minimize myself. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to clear the screen. So you don't need to necessarily be root, but I am. Anyway, this is Linux specific, so this is not something at random. Okay, so that's going to work on Windows. So as you all saw, I had a chess game last time around, right? So here it is. This is a chess game. I've started a chess game. This can be any program. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be chess. It can be whatever you want it to be. And this chess has the PID of 3005. How did I find that PID? You will need the PID, so the process ID. So we need the PS, AUX, and then we're gonna use -I to ignore case. Chess, I'm gonna get less of them. Okay, so user bin GNOME chess has the PID of 3005. I'm using Fedora. Okay, so the PID is 3005. And if you type in cd/proc/3005, press enter, and then do ll, you're gonna get a listing, or you can do ls. You're gonna get a listing of all the folders here and the files. I'm not using Kali Linux. I will never be using Kali Linux, except for demos maybe. And here, if you type in vim maps, enter, you're going to get a RAM mapping for that particular program. So this RAM mapping, oops, my other screen is getting haywire. Okay, so this RAM mapping, Fedora versions 24, 25, I'm not sure which one I'm using. I can check later, no problems. There, you can see it from the screen. It's Fedora 24. Kernel 4.11.5. Okay, so here you get the memory mappings for the entire process. Now keep in mind that you see, these are, oops, okay. I'm sorry if I made anybody dizzy. So this is a beginning address of the process. So this is the start address of the process. This is the RAM address in hex of the process GNOME chess. Okay? And then we have some other addresses down below, and we have the heap, and we'll mainly be extracting from this unmapped region here. Where's the map file? Okay. So Antonio, type in cd space / proc / PID. Sorry, PID is 3005 for my process, but you can get your process ID if you just start chess with this command. So ps aux grep-i chess, and I can see that my PID is 305 here. So I will type in cd / proc 3005 / and then I'm going to go into VIM maps. There we go. Anyway, so this is the begin address, and this is the first block of data between these two addresses. And then you have the second block of data between these two addresses, and so on and so forth. Now, this here is probably the most important portion of this, I guess, because that's where we're going to be extracting the information from, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. As you can see, there's mapping for a lot of things. But there's no need to look for anything here or here. These are libraries which are already preloaded that are being accessed by this program. So you don't have to worry about that. Ritz, there's very little that's difficult about this. It's a fairly straightforward procedure. You have a beginning RAM address and the end RAM address of the first block. And then you have, again, another block and another block and another block and another block and so on and so forth. But if you want to watch the C++ course first, feel free. The session will be here afterwards. Everybody's going to be able to watch it, no problems. Okay, so now that we have these addresses, how on earth are we going to go about examining them? Well, bad news. Java doesn't have direct hardware access, so we're not going to be able to access them directly through Java. However, we'll be able to use JNI, which is Java Native Interface, whereby we are allowed to call a native method, which is C++, because Java runs on top of C++. Okay, so you can leave this file for the time being. I just wanted you to know what it is, and we're gonna be using it. Let me just pop another terminal here. Just give me a moment. Okay, so I'm gonna open up another terminal where I am not root, and I'm gonna go ahead and type in. I'm gonna go into home chronic documents, and here I'm gonna type in mk dear live session. I'm gonna go into that. You don't need to do these steps if you don't want to. And here I'm gonna create a file, so I'm just gonna type in touch ram read .cpp. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and type in vim ram read .cpp. Press I to insert, and I'm gonna start coding. So this is gonna be int main, and coding in VIM can be a little bit tricky, but you know, you kind of learn to live with it. It's no big deal. And we're gonna need to import a few libraries. So first one will be include IO stream. So we need the input output stream for inputting and outputting data. And we will also need the library which actually contains the RAM read methods. So now we have include sys/uio.h. Okay, perfect. So we have those two. They are what we need. And now we're going to use a method called process underscore VM read v. Hello. And this method will be something that we will use in order to extract information from RAM. Now, the first argument that this method will receive is the PID. So that's going to be the process ID. And then we're going to have local. That's something that we're going to, that's a container into which we're going to read, or a pointer that points to a container. But that's a fairly similar concept. And then we're going to have remote. So remote will actually be the remote address from, that's going to be the remote place, that's going to be, not the remote address, that's going to be the remote place from where we're going to read. That's going to be pointing to that remote place, which is basically, it's pointing to a different RAM address. And then we're going to have a 1 and a 0. Okay. This one simply states that the local is not going to be an array, so it's just going to have, well, it's not going to be an array, it's going to have one element, and then we're going to define the size of that element. And then the remote will also have one element, and we're going to define the size of that element. And the last argument, well, the last argument you just ignore. It's a flag of some sorts. Machine learning be integrated to a game bot and use it as a framework and use it for network defense against cyber attack. Yeah, I do believe that they use it for precisely those two purposes. Well, I mainly use it for the game bots, but pretty sure you can use it for machine learning for anything. As long as you can teach the machine, you can use it. Anyway, so you have this method. And this method will simply return the size of what it has read, but we're not going to be examining the size now too much because we're not that interested in it. So we're going to need to type in struct IOVEC local, and we're going to say 1 here. Then we're going to say struct IOVEC remote, and it's going to be 1. Okay. So we're going to have those two there in place. And then we're going to have something like, I don't know, some sort of a char, something like that. I'm not sure which one are we going to exactly use, but we'll get to that in a moment. So next up, those are like IOVEC local and remote. We need a buffer. So let's say char, and this is going to be buff. And let's say that the size is maybe like 10,000, so 3. You'll see why this size is important a bit later on. So that's this char buff, that is where we're going to be reading all our data into. So all our data will be going into that. And okay, so we got those two. Actually, you know what? Let me just do this. I can't do that actually because it would require a dynamic array, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so we got those two structs, local and remote. We have our char. Now we need to type in local, and we're going to say 0 here. So first element dot IOV underscore base equals buff. Okay. So now this is this is pointing to this. So whatever happens to this will be reflected here, actually. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and doesn't matter. Okay. Where's the closing bracket missing? Ah, okay. I see it. Actually, let me show you something. Set numbers or not. Set number. There we go. So it at least shows us the line numbers. Okay, so now we need local 0.IOV, and we're going to define the length here. So this is going to be like len, and len will be equal to 10,000. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to type in 10,000 here. 2, 3. So usually the len, the size of that which you should read should reflect your container. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a char, but the container should be the same size. The VM in process, VM read, stands for virtual memory. Yes, it does stand for virtual memory, if I'm not mistaken. But then again, it can only read virtual memory. It's not going to read physical memory. Because that would make some sense, I guess. Okay, so we have the base and we have the len. And now we need the same thing for remote. So remote 0, and we're going to type in .iov underscore base. And the base needs to be equal to the beginning address of the process. So, and it needs to be like and this is going to be a pointer. So void, I want to use quantum cryptography to see ongoing cyber attack. To identify and analyze the attack, and use the game bots to automatically reconfigure the router, which is, well, you could, but you would definitely need a lot of time to create that. We need a lot of time to create the classifiers for machine learning to be able to recognize certain patterns. It's doable, if that's what you're asking. It's just not really easy. It would take time and effort. So remote 0 dot iov len again, so you can see the pattern. Len, and this is also going to be 10,000. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we have those two. That's perfect. And that's all we really need there. And now we can just use like print f, and we're gonna do this. So and %sign c, close this, comma c, is it? No, it's buff. It's buff, and let's go ahead and close it. So what this is missing is the address. So we need to type in some sort of an address here. And where do we get that address from? Well, we get it from maps. So here you can take the first address here, Control-Shift-C, and we can just like transfer it here. And you need to put 0x in front of it. And in the end, you need to put L for long. And the space is purely for God knows what reasons. I'm just making that up. Can you make a video soon to set up a PC environment? Same as what you have. You basically just install Fedora, that's it. Or any other Linux. There's really nothing to it. So just WQ. So you press escape and then colon, and then you type in WQ and press enter. And then we type in G++ ramread.cpp. Oh, the PID. Yes. Let's go ahead and type in int PID equals 3005, which is the PID of the chess game, and then write and quit. And voila, it actually compiled it. If you type in LL, you will see that you have a .out file. So type in / to execute, and then a.out and press enter. And we got a letter P. Yay! Do you guys see the letter P here? So that's all we got by reading 10,000 bytes from this position. That's all we got. Well, we probably got something else as well, but it couldn't be written out onto the screen. Okay, so let's go back to our file and let's increase this. So let me just go ahead and type in const int len equals to, let's say 100,000. And then just replace 10,000s with len. Hopefully it's gonna work like this. I mean, it did work the first time around. It's just that I would like to see. I would like to get results which are a bit more convenient for you. Okay, so this time we actually got a quote mark. But I suspect that we're getting far more than it's actually being printed out. So we're going to create a for loop. And in that for loop, int I is going to be equal to 0. And I is going to be less than len. And this will increment by 1. And then buff will be I here. Okay, so let's see if this works. And voila! So, I know, only I would be excited to get this sort of information onto the screen. But hey, guess what? This is how the RAM contents actually looks like. Exec CVP. Antonio, is this like on Windows or on Linux? I don't know. If it's on Linux, you can use the same command as I did. So just G++. Not GCC. GCC is going to compile for C. But I mean, it should work in C as well. No problems, really. Oh, you do? Okay. Oh. So, Loverly. I have been mapping a game, and I've been trying to track down the information that I see in the game within the RAM, and then I've tried to establish its address, and then I've been looking at the distance of that address from the beginning addresses of the blocks. So I've had such a fun time doing that. It was an extremely nerve-wracking experience. Onto the CPP file? Sure, here you go. And then I will explain this output here. Antonio, which command are you using again? Oh, okay. Install it. It should be like 30 seconds. Just a little bit different command. It's apt-get install g++ gcc, and there you go. If you have a problem that you don't have a compiler. Okay, so this small piece of code has actually enabled us to read the contents of the RAM. Okay, so this very small piece of code is extremely powerful because this piece of code enables us to grab information from specific memory addresses with specific offsets, and we can in such a way grab whatever it is that we want from any sort of a game or any sort of a program. Wait, we'll fix it. GCC error, strange error you got there, really? Well, let me have a look. I don't know, it's very difficult to troubleshoot something that it's not like right in front of you. And the browser is like extremely slow during the live cast. Come on. Okay, Antonio, try this. Try this one. Yes, it's very possible to modify the data in that particular address. But you see what the problem of modifying that data is that if you're not like extremely careful with the way in which you are modifying it, you're going to get screwed because they're going to figure out that you're doing something wrong. How can I understand you? I do not understand. This is a different program that I'm giving you. It's GCC-C++. Yeah, sure. Okay, so let me separate it a little bit. Okay, so process VM readv is a function or a method. I'm pretty sure it's a method because it's somewhere within a class if I'm not mistaken. Or it could be just inside of a structure. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so it's a method and it receives these arguments. So the first argument is the process ID. Okay, so that's the process ID. That's in my case 3005, but you can, if you have a different process ID, it really doesn't matter. You can just put the ID there. Unless the program is running as root and you're trying to read its RAM space via a regular user, then you might encounter some problems. And the next argument is local. So this is a structure, okay? And you can see up here, hold on, let me just go ahead and show you. So this has been initialized to this. So basically this points to this. Whatever happens here will be reflected here because this just points to this. And local is used as a storage place. So we are storing what we read from remote into local. So we're reading from remote and we're storing it into local. Antonio, did you make it? Anyway, so we're storing from remote into local. And local is pointing to buff, and buff is a char array, which is basically initialized to some size. The constant here, int len is a constant, so it cannot be changed, because if it wasn't, then I couldn't use it to initialize buff. For that, I would need a dynamic array, which I don't really need here. And then you have a len here. Len is the, like, how much do you want to read from that particular address? So if you want, do you want to read 10,000 positions from there? Do you want to read 5,000 positions? Do you want to read 3 positions from there, etc.? Okay, I'm glad, Antonio, it worked out. And then you have remote. Now this, if you've worked with pointers at any point of time in your life, you know that they contain RAM addresses, right? So you're just basically giving it, you're making it point to this particular address, and this particular address is of type long, and then it's being casted into a void pointer. Void is like a general type of a pointer, so to say. Somebody is going to freak out that I've said that, but yeah, as I say, it's sort of. No need to get into the depth of it. If you want, you can read a C++ documentation. It's going to explain to you very well what the void pointer is over like 20 pages. Anyway, and then you have the length of the remote as well. And the length of the local and the remote, in my particular case, should be the same, but they don't necessarily need to be the same. So you're just reading from remote and you're storing it into local, and that's all you're really doing. This one here specifies the number of elements here. I have only one element, so that's what I'm doing. And remote only has one element, so that's why it's 1 there. And the last element is a flag. I haven't really used it. I didn't really have a need to use it. And you can just omit that. If you really want to know what it is, what it does, what the flag's capabilities are, you can just read the documentation on the particular method, and you will get the idea. Okay, so Brutskosk Is that a good enough explanation, or do you require me to go back to it? Is there any particular thing that you did not understand? Okay, never mind. We'll go ahead and continue. So there is one thing that I'm missing in this main method, and somebody's going to really hate me for it because I forgot to write it. You're supposed to write returned 0 and then finish it up. Okay, so let's write and quit, and let's go ahead and clear the screen. You can clear the screen by pressing Control L. And I hope that this works. Yeah, it does. I'm just checking if the live stream is actually still live. Okay. Anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and type in G++ again, ramread.cpp. This is going to go ahead and compile it. I'm going to do ll. I'll have dot out. I have a dot out, and then I can type in /a dot out. No, this process VM is not my method. It's a built-in. It's actually contained here, so it's here. It's part of this. It's part of this library, so you can find it here. It's a built-in method, so it's not something I wrote. It's just something I'm using. Okay, so you can work out computer's chess moves before it makes them to beat yes. No, you cannot make the chess moves before the computer figures them out. You can only make the chess moves after the computer actually made them. So you cannot figure them out before time. I mean, that would make no sense. I guess, I don't know. That would be great if you could figure all the moves in advance. Okay, so this is how a binary file looks like. Well, maybe not necessarily a binary file, but this is basically a memory dump. So it can really be anything. Literally, it can be anything. You have no idea what is stored at that memory location. Fun fact of the day, when the police or the FBI raided houses to take the computers or to impound the PCs, etc., they had this stack technique where they break into the house and they quickly run to the PC, and even if you lock it and turn it off and whatever, they pull out the RAM and they spray it with very, very, very cold air, and then they store the RAM, and then they can read the RAM later because the information will hold there for 7 minutes or something like that after you shut the machine down if the RAM is very cold. Begin any religious wars over C pointers, heretic. Okay. I know, but I really can't get into the detailed explanation of the pointers now. It would take like ages to go over it all. Hello, hi as well. Okay, so this is what the RAM contents looks like. So pretty horrible, right? I mean, who in their sane mind would actually want to read this? I mean, what sort of a sane person would actually spend 10 hours a day looking at a file that looks like this and trying to extract something from it? Well, the answer is probably no sane person would do it, but then again, who said you need to be sane? Anyway, so it does read a lot of things here, but you need to be able to fetch certain items. So if you do, for example, grep, and if I do -i, elf, should it fetch this? And okay, so this is a very nice thing that I can show you now. So it says binary file standard input matches. Okay, it found the match, but it didn't print it out. So I can just add A to it, and it's going to print it out. And there you go. I've actually managed to extract a particular name of that, well, not a particular name of the file, but just something that I've written here. I've managed to extract from the memory location. And you might say, oh, you know, who cares about that? That's not really a big deal. But let me show you something more practical if I manage to do it, because I didn't really reverse engineer this, and I'm not reverse engineer. I didn't really map it out to the fullest of extents. But let me see if it will work. So you have a calculator. It doesn't need to be KCalc. It can be any calculator. I'm sorry, Elaine. There was like more than an hour at the beginning for any sort of questions. Now we're into the code. I can't stop it now. So if you just start up your calculator, I'm just going to move it away. And then if you do PS AUX, grep calc, there's the PID, so it's 285460, and then we do VIM RAM read. So just gonna go ahead and change the PID. So we're gonna try to extract the numbers from the calculator now. That's a more obvious example, and then later on we can try it with chess. I've already succeeded with chess, but it's a little bit not more complicated, but just messy. So right quit, and let's go into another file. So cd vim maps. Okay, so let's just grab this address here and copy it and do vim ram read again. Okay, well, it's simpler to use a calculator for the demo, but if you're making a real thing, then you're not going to use a calculator. And then just paste the height. Should be there. It should be there. Did you use? Show me your grep command. We're going to just paste the address here. And what is the length? It's 100,000. So let me just go ahead and change the length as well to add like a million, like this. Just a larger number. And then I'm going to try to compile it once again. Okay, compilation done. And elf. Okay, so it doesn't actually show this time. Perfect. No big deal. Let's see what does show. Segmentation fault. Well, as you can see, you can't actually put things at random. I was hoping that it would work, but it doesn't. Okay, let's just reduce the number, see what happens. A segmentation fault again. It's not gonna work like this. You need to know the exact address, but we can find the exact range. Hold on, let me just reply to this question. Use a dot out grep dash I a elf. Try this one. Okay, so now we have a problem that we know that we're supposed to begin reading from this position, but we have no idea like where we are headed, like what is the direction of our RAM read. So you have the begin and the end of the block, and then you again have the begin and the end of the block, and so on and so forth. They keep on changing. Is that because of an int? What? Oh my god, did I go outside of the boundaries of an int? Nah, I didn't. This is not outside of the boundaries of an int. There is no way. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nah. It should be within range. I mean, there's like no chance of that. If I went outside of the range of an int, it would basically tell me that, hey, you know, there's a problem or something. It wouldn't let me compile in the first place. Okay, so let's go back to the maps. Now, how do I know what range do I read between like this here and this here? Well, if this is the start address of the block and if this is the end address of the block, Well, I need to subtract from the end address the begin address, and in such a way gain knowledge in regard to how many positions do I need to read between this one and this one, because you can't just be putting in values at random. That's just bad practice. I was hoping that a random stroke of luck might favor me and that it might work, but it won't. Let me just try a smaller number. And if it doesn't work, there we go. So with a smaller number, it does indeed work. So this is the output from that particular address, and it looks rather messy. And if you, for example, typed in, I don't know, 99 here, 887766. If I just move this, grep 99887766. If I press enter, it's not going to be able to find it because I'm not within the proper range. Why am I not in the proper range? Well, because I didn't actually enter the proper value, because the distance between this one and this one is different from what I've typed in, and distance between this one and this one is different as well. So let's take a look at the heap. Maybe I'll be able to find what I need there. If not there, then we can go further. But if I feel kind of bad wasting your time looking things at random, I'll show you my Java code, and there I've already found things. How big is the length? I'll just clarify that in a second. Elf still now showing here, okay? Okay, so again, another random read ain't gonna do anything for us, but hey, look at all the information that is contained in here. So you got a lot more than last time and completely different information. I'm really curious to actually try this one more time. I'm sorry, I just can't. My never-ending curiosity just drives me onward. Okay, again, it's not gonna get it, but we're gonna get a segmentation fault. Anyway, I have a Java program here in the background. Let me just move this out of the screen, and then I'll show you. If you just played around with different values, you would eventually find it. And if you read all of the values in, you would definitely find this number. But I didn't really prepare a calculator example, so I don't really feel like messing around and looking through all the values manually here. It would waste too much time. But looking behind. So, where is it? Okay, so I made a program in Java, and I will make the code available, and I will make the explanations available. And here is my C++ code that I've made before this. So it looks a little bit different here, but not too much different. Just this particular line is a little bit different, so it makes the JNI call a little bit simpler. And don't worry, you're going to be able to see it on GitHub, and I will explain it. I know that I didn't upload it last time on GitHub, but there was no point. And if I run this code here, this is going to do a file write. And I did that on purpose so that you can actually, there's a file called look, and there's a file called look. Okay, so if I open up look, and then if I do this and close, and here we go. So it reads in the address ranges, okay? So it reads in the first address range, and then it basically gets stuff from there, and gets stuff from here, and gets stuff from there, etc. And this is yet another address range, so it begins here and it ends here, and then it extracts information from there on end. So you can see it goes on and on and on and on, and this file is rather large. You can see that it begins here, and if I scroll all the way down, it actually has this many lines, so 425 1,471 lines are contained in here, which is a bit ridiculous. However, if I do this and type in P, 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 so there should be 8 P's. There we go. So here are the starting positions of all the figures. So this is how it looks like when it starts. Let me go ahead and show you. We're gonna separate this into a new file. Okay, so we don't really need this. So it's Rn BQRT. So rook, knight, bishop, queen, king, bishop, knight, rook. And then it's like pawn, 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 pawn. And then we have these. So you have these figures here, and then you have pawns. And then you have 8 free slots, 8 free slots, 8 free slots. And then you have pawns again. And then you have, like, again, rook, knight, bishop, queen, etc. Okay, so that's something that we've extracted from it. But look at this. Do you see the list of moves that were made here? So if I click here, you can see that there were many moves that have been played in this game, right? So you have first move b1 to c3, f7 to f5, g1 to f3, etc. Okay, so I've preloaded this game and I've played it a little bit, so I've gotten a very specific set of moves that I have recorded, and now I am going to find them. These are just a set of moves that I've rewritten from here, a particular format. And if I do this, if I do Control F, Control V, voila. So there you go. These are all the moves that have been played within this game. So I can see all the moves, and if I wanted, I could read this exact RAM position. And from this exact RAM address, not position, sorry. And I could define how much information, how much data would I like to read. And it's gonna just take this string and it's gonna preload it. Or maybe it's not a string, maybe it's something else. I would need to take a look at the source code, but it doesn't really matter. I can extract the information from this particular address, and I can extract as much of it as I want, and I know exactly where what is. It's not written here from which address it is, but if you remember this line, it's 37361. And if I type in address range, or it's, oh, come on. Sorry, just let me begin address range. Okay, it was begin address range, sorry. So this is 37361, and if I type in begin address range, so the next available one is, let's go up one, it's on this line, so whatever it is that I'm looking, whatever moves that I'm looking is within this particular address range. So what I can do now is read this address range, only this one, and try to figure out the exact positions of where what exactly is. Okay, so that would basically, after some trial and error period, that would tell me where what exactly is. And this is how the AIM bots are made. This is how the WoW bots are made. This is how any sort of a bot that's based on a RAM read is made. I am able to read the exact positions of all the figures, of all the moves, and I am able to formulate a response very fast. Now, the Java code on this end, my idea was to post it on GitHub so that you could all look at it try to understand as much of it as you can, and then we would come back during the next live session where I would explain every single line of this code and what it does. Summer is really killing me. Like, slowly but surely, I'm being devoured. Okay, so I have expanded the screen as much as I could in Java. So in order to load the native code, you're going to need this line. But aside from this line, you're going to need some compilation done as well. So you're going to need to compile the code in a very particular way. Then we're going to have a bunch of methods and variables here within a class. And I've been coding this in a rush, so most of them don't actually need to be static. There's really no reason why they should be. So the method shouldn't be public either. I know that some people will hang me for that, so I figured I would hang myself first to deny the pleasure. And I have one method. Here's the concept of this code. You have one method to read the file. Which file is it reading? Well, it's reading the maps file. It's reading this file. So where you have all the addresses listed out, and it's reading that file in a very particular way. So it's just taking all the lines, so one line at a time, and all the lines until the end of the file, and it's being given a path continuously. And this is the file path up here. So it's basically /proc/ and then the PID, which I've written here in a string format, and then /map. So that's where the file is. So just read all of it, all that you can from there with a standard char set UTF-8. Print an exception if you can't. Give me not the exception, give me the stack trace of an exception if you can't. Or just the stack trace. Why do I say it of an exception? Never mind. And then down below, it's gonna be looking for line delimiters. Final cannot be changed. You can no longer alter final. Like when something is final, if you have a variable that's final, you can't actually modify its value. While static is something that remembers changes between, I don't know, classes, methods, etc. So I've made them static for the purposes of convenience now while I was rush coding this, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. And then what happens here is I have basically 3 containers. I have a container for begin addresses, for end addresses of the blocks, and I have a hex which just tells me the entire range. And then I begin looking for line delimiters. So for hex, where I'm just going to store both addresses, what's the line delimiter? Well, it's space. So effectively it says read everything from beginning in a line up to a point in space, up to a point where you encounter a space. And if you encounter a space, that's great. Like just put it into this and that's it. Go on to the next line. There's no point. Yes, basically a final is a constant, so you can't actually change it. And then you have the begin address where the line delimiter is a dash. So read the first address, which is up to a dash, and then read no longer, but go into the next line. And the end ADDR is a little bit trickier, but nothing too terrible. It just says go to the dash, and then go from the dash to the first space. Okay, so it's go to the dash and then go from the dash to the first space. If you get to the first space, well, then that's it. Read no more, go into the next line. So that's the read line. It reads all of the addresses which we need. And then if you go down, I have string to hex to just do the conversion from a string to a hex. And I know that there is a predefined method for this, but I needed some custom tweaking there that I couldn't really get it to work, so I just made my own and that's it. And then I have len, which basically returns the length. And what is the length? The length is the end address minus the begin address, and you get the distance between the two of them. And that is the amount of data that you wish to read between the begin and the end address. So as you can see, I have an int result, which iterates over the size of the begin ADDR, and the size of the begin ADDR and the end ADDR and hex is the same. And all it does is gets the first element of end ADDR, and it gets the last element. It gets the first element from the end ADDR, and it gets the first element from begin ADDR, and it subtracts them. And then it adds 1 on top of that because we want to make sure that this last address is included as well. And then it returns the address offset, basically. I've named it so, but not necessarily the offset. It's just the distance between the begin and the end addresses of the block. A bit of commented code that I probably should have deleted, not to embarrass myself too much here. And you have a lot of troubleshooting code here that I've placed, so I didn't really filter it out. And then I have a method called filtered RAM read, which in essence creates a byte buffer. Okay, so this is very important. The other things were kind of general stuff. So I create a byte buffer. That byte buffer, just BB, doesn't matter. So byte buffer dot allocate direct buffer length. So the past buffered length is used in order to get the size of the buffer. So we're stating what the size of our buffer will be. And then I am calling read RAM. And the read RAM, somewhere around here, just give me a moment. That's the call order, that's the static string to hex. There we go. So read RAM is the native method that receives these 3 arguments, and that native method is defined in this file here that I have made. So I'm going to need to show you in detail how to actually compile this and how to actually create this. I'm not going to do that during this session, so it would make it too long. But this is the same method which I've been explaining a moment ago, but it's been modified to an extent. So this is the primary modification. So this might seem a bit strange. So a byte buffer is passed here, and then we're just going to use, basically, we're just going to have something pointing to the byte buffer. And this is not going to return anything. It doesn't need to return anything. It's just going to directly modify the passed byte buffer from Java, and then we're going to be able to do whatever we want with that byte buffer. So it just modifies the past reference to that particular byte buffer. I know it sounds a little bit complicated, but don't worry. Next time I'll get it more in depth there. But first I needed to initiate you. So anyway, coming back to the filtered RAM read. So you call read RAM, you pass the 3 things that you need to pass, and then the reading of RAM begins. So you have, okay, you can just disregard the counter and you can disregard the test. That's just me. That's just something that I've played around with. So I have a string builder and I'm reading the byte buffer. It needs to be read in a very particular way. So you are only interested in letters, special characters, and numbers. You're not interested in anything that you cannot read, that is basically gibberish. So you would not be interested in... You wouldn't be interested in this. So this does not concern you. So if it's a question mark, something like, if it's just being interpreted here as a special character of some sort or kind, but you're really not interested in that. All that you're interested in are these readable letters. So it says here document 1. So you're interested in those things. And then you say, okay, read all the values from the byte buffer, put them into a byte here. So as long as there are remaining elements, keep on reading, and then just keep on getting the next element and keep on putting that into byte. And if that byte B is greater or equal to 32 or lesser than 127, meaning if it's a lowercase, uppercase letter, or if it's a number, if it's a special character, or if it's equal to 10, meaning if it's a space. Go ahead and take that byte, so byte B, cast it to a char, and then append the string builder with it. So add it to a string builder. And then I have a string result, the final outcome of things, where it says string builder, and then I convert that to a string, put it into the result, and then I have a char sequence here, basically just the sequences of the played moves within a chess game. And then if the result string actually contains the char sequence from here, go ahead and print out certain things and confirm that you've actually found it, and then just go ahead and return the result. This was done more for the demo, nothing else really. I don't really need that part there. And then I just have a method called call order, where I just call these other methods in a particular order. And then when the string here, the result, when it gets the final string, that's going to be returned by the method called order, you're going to have an appending like this, begin address, and then it's going to tell you which address it is. And then you're going to have a reading of RAM, and that's going to be put, yes, it's ASCII, and that's going to be put into the string. The contents of the RAM will be put into the string with line 185. And then I'm just going to append it at the end, and I'm just going to say end address range. This is purely for my convenience, and so that you can actually see things. And then down below in the main, when I called everything, I've just decided to actually write it to a file so that you can analyze it and look at it in a little bit of a better way. You can disregard this. This is just me messing around with code. So, and I've printed out done so that we know that it's all over and done. Running this, we'll just say done. Okay, great. That's wonderful for us. And if I open the look file again, here, let me just reload it. I have the same pattern that I'm looking here of all the moves played. I shall find it in two places. So it'll be in two places. One of those two places is unnecessary. I'm just not sure which one, but it doesn't matter. You can read it from two places. And there we go. So I have a list of all the moves that have been played. Let me just go ahead and do one more thing. So if I pull up the chess game and I play a move now, the computer is giving me chess. Okay, hold on. Where do I move the king? Okay, it doesn't matter. So E8 to F8. Okay, so let me just remember that. E8. We can just run the program again. And I'm gonna go ahead and reload the file. And it's gonna be not empty. Okay, let me just go ahead and find the string. Come on. Close, hold on. Hold on. Which moves were actually played? So E8 to F8. E8 to F8. And what else was played? What else was played? Queen, I believe it was from here. that it came down here, so I can just check it. H5 to F7. H5 to F7. Okay, save, run, done. It didn't find it. Why didn't it find it? Because he checkmated me, didn't he? White wins. Okay, the computer gave me checkmate. Let me just start a new game. I didn't actually create a scenario for a checkmate yet. Okay, so B3. Just give it a few moves. It really doesn't matter which ones. I'm playing an extremely stupid game. Okay. Waiting for the white to play. Excellent. So let's see. Yeah, GG computer. Let's go ahead and list these moves. So I'm just going to put it on the side of the screen so you won't be able to see it, but I will. Not doing nothing special, just listing the moves. Okay, so it's B1, C3, E7, E5, B1, C3. B1, C3. Huh, okay, I have it. B1, C3. Apparently a very predictable computer. B1, C3, E7, E5. Come on. E7, E5. Okay, so it's E7, E5, G1, F3, 5. G1, F3, G1, F3. Okay, let's see if that's going to be enough, or did I actually... Okay, there we go. Thank you. Let me just open the file up. And get this line here. And there we go. So I get all the moves. So it's B1, C3, E7, E5, G1, F3, etc. So if you don't believe me, you can just here pause the video and then take a look at all the values here. D2, D3 is the last. So D2, D3, here you go. So the thing is, this can be made to actually read this particular address and not the whole thing, because it would be pretty irresponsible of us to utilize the resources of the machine in such a way that each time it actually reads the entire range, all the ranges. Rather, instead, you can just say, okay, you know, just look within this range for that information, or just go to that particular address and that's the offset and it's not going to go beyond that, don't worry, or something like that. So at a particular offset, just read whatever information you wish. So I managed to convert all that I've read from RAM into letters, special characters, and numbers, and I've managed to extract all the moves of the computer and of myself. And this can also be used for online. You can read information like this from online chess or whatever. For the purposes of this demo, I've decided to use a local chess game and not go actually online. Maybe someday we can. Anyway, I'll post the code on GitHub, and then we'll come back next time around and we'll actually compile the C++ code for Java in specific. And we're going to use the native calls in Java. So a bit of good practice with JNI. Everybody who works with Java at some point of time, you're going to need to know how to use JNI. And guys, I'm really sorry for my nose. It's like killing me completely. Okay, so that's it. If you have any questions, I'll stick around for another, I don't know, I'll just wait for 5 minutes. And if there are no questions, I'm going to go. And if there are, I'm going to go ahead and answer them. And this time the code will be on the GitHub, hopefully. I should really get some air conditioning here. Oh, by the way, the file that we've read is way better than reading through this. It's a little bit more difficult to read through these things, especially when there are more of them. And yes, the computer defeated me. Okay, go ahead. GitHub link. Hold on. Hold on. I usually put it in the description, but... Elaine Din, if you have a question, just write it here because the chat is way too long for me to find. Just copy paste what you have written. And they get... Oh my god, come on. Okay, Kumar, I'll put it in the description and you'll have a link there. No. Go ahead, shoot all the jokes you want. I'm from Boston, and we have a very colorful and rich language here in terms of curses. You can curse for about 6 minutes without repeating a curse, so that's a significant achievement, I would say. And on top of that, you need like a 3-inch thick skin to survive, well, the first 7 years of your childhood here. So, by all means, go ahead. The link in the description should be there within maybe half an hour. I don't know how long will it take for YouTube to actually make the live session available straight away, or maybe it'll take a bit of time and that's it. Because it's 2 hours, so I don't think I can go beyond a certain point. So guys, the live session is over. I'm just sticking around to see if anybody has any questions, and if you do, I'll be happy to answer them. I'm enjoying the silence. No, Antonio, this time I will post it on GitHub. Don't worry. In 30 minutes after the session, you will have it there. As I said, the idea is that you can examine the code and prepare yourselves for the next live session where I will describe the code in greater detail, and you will all be able to see what is going on. And then we will compile together as well. Veggies seem happy, I hear them. I have no idea. Something is it's either the birds or the kids outside, or there are always some strange sounds coming. I know, right? Like 6 minutes. You know how many F words we like? You can say fuck you in so many ways. It's ridiculous. No, not for Win32 API. I really haven't. I mean, main things that I use there, it's just get the base address and two methods for RAM read, and that's it. Hey, Loverly, where are you from? If I may ask.